Hello, my name is Brian. I'm a teaching artist with the San Benito County Arts Council. We know that everyone is stuck inside, so we thought we'd bring some art lessons to you. This is a very simple lesson today. I call it Funny Faces. It's more of an exercise really than like a full-on project, but the materials are very simple. You're just going to need some paper to draw on. I have some big sheets because that's all I have. A pencil, and then something to ink with. So like I have a brush pen and like a micron here, but you can use like a marker, like a Sharpie, anything dark that you can ink with. Yeah, so like I said, today's project, it's not really about producing like a great piece of artwork. It's more of a creativity exercise. So this is actually something that when I was in school for art design, we did as an exercise just to kind of loosen up and have some fun. So don't get caught up in it needing to be some kind of masterpiece. My example's not even very good. So just kind of have fun with it. It's definitely something you can do when you're just sort of like feeling stuck, you've got kind of artist's block. This is kind of a fun little exercise. So, like I said, it's called Funny Faces, and it's really just about making some funny faces. So, here is my example that I did to practice for this demo. I have some other ones over here that I was messing around with. I like this guy here. There's not much to it. It's just about a little bit of practicing sort of like sketching the cartoon head and construction of the head, and then kind of decorating it and riffing on it and having fun. So the first thing we need to do is very, very, very simple, which is just practicing the basic construction of like a cartoon head, which is kind of the basic construction of a more realistic head. It's just, cartoon simplified. So 3 basic steps. Start with the sort of balloon shape, add the eye line and the center line, and do those kind of curved so it has a little bit of depth, a little bit of 3D to it, and then just adding the features. So eyes go on the eye line, nose, and then a little mouth. So very, very, very simple. Some people may not need a rundown of this basic, but this is kind of the basic building blocks of like the actual exercise, so I thought I should talk about it. So when you're doing the circles, I like to hold my pencil like this, by the way, finger and thumb with 3 fingers out, just for when I'm sketching, especially circles. Just do it nice and light. I hope you can see the pencil on here. And you can go around a few times to sort of find the angle that you want. Don't worry about it being a perfect circle. Don't try to do like what a lot of people do when they're trying to do circles or anything, which is go all the way around like that with like one perfect line. Chances are it's just going to look awkward. Even if it is a pretty good circle, it just looks not very elegant. So just sort of practice making those basic loops and try to use your whole arm when you're doing it, your shoulder, everything. Don't just draw it with your wrist like that. Try to use everything. So you can even, if you want to, just practice filling a sheet of paper with circles. It's kind of fun and a good warm-up. So now I've filled it all with circles. So yeah, so that's this first step. And then the second step is just adding the eye line and the center line. And you're going to do those basically like circles too, just little ovals. So that's probably darker than I would normally go, but I'm just giving an example. So that would be like the center line of a face turned slightly. And then another one like that. So this is a lot darker, like I said, that I would normally draw, but I'm just trying to show you the pieces that are in there. So just adding a little depth to it. I didn't get quite to the top on that one. So adding the center line, and then the eye line. The eye line should be about halfway through, although depending on like the character or how cartoony you want to go, you can kind of put the eye line anywhere. You know, if you wanted to make somebody who had like a really weird big mouth, you could put the eye line up at the top. But doing it like this with these sort of like oval shapes, just like I said, it helps to add depth to your character. Even though cartoons are kind of like flat, we're trying to see people's features on like a curved surface. So this is kind of just practice at this point. So you go through, that's like the second step, is to add all these, the center line and the eye line. And then you can add the features. So wherever your eye line is, you know, you can add eyes, and then round nose, and a mouth. You know, if you want to start playing with doing things that have more character at this point, you can. But this one's kind of over here. Like I said, this is all pretty simple. Oh, I forgot the ears on these. You can stick some ears on. But yeah, that's kind of all there is to the head construction. And you can practice this if you feel like you need to. Or if you feel like it's just very basic, then that's fine too. But just sort of having fun, sort of sketching these shapes. It's good practice. Sketching those circles. And this is the basic sort of like cartoon head construction. So now, when we go into actually sort of playing around, we have this as like the foundation. So here, let me. So when we're ready to start making our funny faces, we're going to do the same basic steps as this, going with the head shape, adding the eye line and the center line, and then adding the features. But we're going to be a little bit more creative with our shapes rather than just doing ovals, balloon shapes, things like that. We can maybe make them kind of peanut shaped. And still trying to add that same line using the 3 dimensions. So I'll have the center line doing something like this. And the eye line maybe right here where it's like small. So I don't have anything in mind right now of what this is going to be. I'm just trying to create some interesting shapes. And if this seems too dramatic, you can do something that's more simple. It could just be varying, even like do kind of a sideways long oval thing. That eye line. And let's do this one facing this way. And you can even do one that's maybe a little bit more like kind of square a little bit, like a rounded square. And the same thing, you know, this center line, and then the eye line. And then what else we got? Let's maybe try one that's like got a really big sort of bottom piece and then this one's really weird. So center line and eye line. So you can kind of get as crazy with these shapes as you feel comfortable with. Let's try maybe more kind of long one. So center line. eye line. Just trying to think in terms of 3D, but not really get caught up making sure everything's perfect or accurate. And I got kind of a weird space down here, so let's see. Maybe I'll do one that's like really top heavy. So let's try something like that. So center line, eye line. So this is basically, you know, first couple steps. So making some kind of weird shapes, then adding the center line and the eye line to each one. And now you can kind of start to turn them into characters. So this is the part where it becomes more of a creativity exercise. You can spend some time sort of looking at all the different pieces and seeing what your imagination comes up with, what sort of character that they might have. So on this one, let's see here. Seems like, for whatever reason, this kind of reminds me of like John Goodman or something like that. I don't know why. But maybe I'm going to do, maybe I've got the Big Lebowski on my head and I'm going to do kind of these mirrored sunglasses with a big old nose. And maybe he's kind of grumpy. Stick some ears on the side of there. And for the overall shape, you know, you can kind of choose to either kind of stick the hair on top or sort of include the hair in the shape that you already have sketched. Whatever, you know, kind of fits the character that you want. I feel like this guy is just going to have a little bit of hair at the top. Got kind of a male pattern baldness thing going on. And so I'm just sort of sketching in details and just making the characters come alive a little bit, you know? So maybe this one's like, maybe it kind of, I don't know, it makes me think of that Muppet, that smart Muppet. Professor Honeydew? I don't remember what his name is. So I'm going to give him some little beady eyes, some little nerdy beady eyes, and then maybe some glasses. Actually, maybe I'll do, I like drawing old people sometimes. So maybe I'll make this like an old lady. Just as a general thing for cartooning too. You know, as you get older, your ears and your nose continue to grow because of the cartilage in them, even as you're getting older and the rest of you is shrinking. So when you're trying to draw old people, sometimes it's good to give them big old ears or a big nose. And I'll just maybe add some kind of silly little hair sticking out on top. Whenever I do the kind of more boxy shapes, it always makes me want to draw Frankenstein or like a monster or someone tough. But yeah, let's see here. This is too much like the example one I did. Trying to think of something. Maybe I'll make them really boxy. Give them a big old boxy nose. Maybe like some kind of thick eyebrows. A little chin down there, and this one, the ear would be kind of on the side of his head. Let's give this guy a hat. And it says sports. Sometimes it's fun to draw like kind of dumb people. I'm going to make this guy kind of wall-eyed. Some kind of... Maybe I'll give him like whiskers. Alright, that's my favorite now. So this one's kind of weird. I did definitely give myself a challenge by putting this sort of piece all the way up here. Seems like he almost has to have like a big old chin. So let's maybe give him like a really wild nose too. Some angry eyebrows. He looks unhappy. Ears. He's got this big old chin. I don't know what kind of person this is, but that's fun. So this one's kind of funny too. Got this big top half. Again, it's all just about, I don't know, just seeing what the shape sort of brings out in you, what kind of character it has. I feel like this one could be another, maybe like an old person or something. Maybe with like hair that's hanging over. Make it a little bit more like kind of curly looking. So, yeah, I mean, that's about as detailed as you really need to get. And then the last part really is just going in there with some sort of ink and, I don't know, having some fun, adding some definition, giving them some character. So I'm going to start with this guy because this is my favorite. I don't know if I'm going to ink all these on camera. So... So I tend to need to turn the page when I'm inking. Helps me not put my hand through the things I've already inked. And just as a general tip actually for inking, I had a teacher once who told me that everybody who inks sort of has like one direction they can ink in best. For whatever reason, mine is kind of going to the right, and that's the way I can kind of make my best lines. A lot of people draw towards themselves when they're inking, but anywho. And again, don't worry about exactly how these are coming out. This isn't really about like doing something you're gonna put in a gallery. It's really just to be creative and have fun. I don't normally draw stuff that's like really, really cartoony like this. But it's fun to do, especially like I said, if you're feeling stuck or if you've got a little bit of artist block or you're feeling a lot of pressure to do something really nice. Sometimes it's nice to just do something really silly. Oh yeah, I gotta do the sports. So let's do, maybe this one here. Let's give him some really thick, bushy eyebrows. Sorry if I'm moving the paper around too much. Like I said, it just, for whatever reason, it just makes it a lot easier for me to draw at different angles. This guy's fun. Well, I mean, his character, I guess, is not fun. He looks like a real jerk, but maybe I'll even kind of give him a little bushy hair up here, too. No matter what you're using to ink, try as best you can to use a light touch and to try to make the motions fluid. One thing that makes inking so difficult is that you can't really find the line like you can with a pencil, where you can sort of sketch it out real light and find out where you want to go. With ink, it's obviously more permanent. But anything you can do to sort of make the lines one fluid stroke probably helps. Oh, that's silly. All right, let's maybe ink this dude over here. There's something about him too. He looks like a little bit plain. I feel like I want to give him some kind of hair or something. I'm not really sure exactly what it is. Let's do maybe kind of some curly hair, kind of like the old lady. Curly hair is fun to draw. Getting that big nose in there. Whoop. I think my brush pen's starting to run out of ink. But yeah, that's more or less the idea. Like I said, you can kind of go through and just, I mean, you can even fill up like big sheets of paper with this. I actually, for a project when I was in school, I ended up doing something like this where I filled in the shapes with watercolors, and I did, 24 faces on 18 by 24, and it wound up in like a student gallery and all this stuff, and I won some prizes for it. It was fun. But like I said, it's really just about kind of practicing and having fun and riffing and doing some silly characters. So sketch some shapes, ink them. If you're really feeling crazy, you can add some color, some markers or colored pencils or something like that. But that's that's more or less it. Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick recap. Start by doing the basic cartoon head construction, practicing a few of those. So, starting with the head shape, adding the center line, the eye line, and some basic facial features. And after you've kind of sketched that out and warmed up a little bit, move on to the final one. So, just sketch a few random crazy shapes, add the center line, add the eye line, and then give all your shapes some character, bring them to life. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this and have some fun. If you want to see some of my artwork, you can see it online at bryanwestart.com. It's Bryan with a Y. But yeah, that's all I have for you. Have fun, stay inside, stay safe, make some art. Thanks. Bye.